everyone, and welcome to our deep dive all about how to finally get what you've been saving for.
Uh-huh.
Whether it's a trip, a new car, or even that fancy new espresso machine.
Oh, I could use one of those.
Right. The best part is we're going to learn how to do it without going into debt.
Exactly. No credit cards, no loans.
Just smart saving, pure and simple.
And to help us out, we've got this awesome guide on building a savings plan.
It's packed with useful tips, and you know me, I love a good plan.
Oh, it's not just tips. There are some pretty eye-opening stats in here, too. I was surprised by some of them.
Ooh, now I'm really intrigued. Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's talk about why a savings plan is even necessary.
Sure.
I mean, can't we just, set aside some money here and there?
Well, you could, but think about it this way.
Okay.
The National Bureau of Economic Research, they found that people with actual savings plans are 30% less likely to use credit cards or loans.
Wait, 30%? That's a huge difference.
It is. It's really about changing your money mindset.
So it's not just about, being good at math. It's about making different choices overall.
Exactly. In this guide, it highlights 3 major benefits. Obviously, avoiding debt is a big one.
Right.
But it also talks about how saving can reduce your stress and give you way more control over your finances.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, when you're saving with a purpose, it's not just about stuffing money in a jar. It's about feeling calmer and more confident about your money.
It's like instead of that last-minute panic of, oh, how am I going to pay for this? You're already ahead of the game.
Yeah, exactly. No more financial fire drills.
I love that. All right, so this guide we're using, it breaks the whole savings process down into 7 steps.
It does.
And I gotta say, they seem pretty straightforward. Let's dive into step 1.
Okay, let's do.
Which is determining the total cost of whatever we're saving for. Seems pretty basic, right?
It does seem that way, but trust me,
Okay.
people often mess this part up. You really got to dig deep and consider every possible expense.
Give me an example.
Sure. Let's say you want to buy a car. It's not just about the price you see on the lot, right?
Right.
You have to factor in taxes, registration fees, even things like insurance and future maintenance.
Oh, wow. So it's like playing detective with your finances.
Pretty much. And, the guide actually recommends that you overestimate a little bit.
Interesting. Why is that?
Well, think of it as a safety net. Life throws curveballs. Unexpected expenses pop up.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Having that little cushion in your savings can make all the difference.
So we're not caught off guard.
Exactly. Being prepared is key.
Love it. All right, on to step 2, setting a realistic timeline. This is where things get interesting, right?
Absolutely. This is all about balancing your wants with what's actually achievable.
Okay, yeah, because I might want that vacation in 6 months, but can I actually save enough by then?
Right. Let's say your dream vacation costs $6,000 and you want to go in a year.
Oh, okay.
That means you'd need to save $500 every month, if that seems a little steep.
Yeah, maybe a little.
Maybe you need to adjust your timeline, or maybe tweak the vacation itself.
Make it a staycation instead.
Well, you could. Or just choose a slightly less expensive destination.
Right. Right. And this is where I love using spreadsheets or budgeting apps. It just makes visualizing the whole thing so much easier.
I agree. I use them all the time. Whether it's something simple like Google Sheets or an app like Y&E.
It really helps to see that progress, right?
Yeah.
Okay, step 3 is calculating our monthly savings.
Time for a little math.
It sounds scarier than it is, though, right?
Well, it's super easy. Just divide the total cost by
Right.
the number of months you gave yourself.
Okay, so if I need to save, say, $1,000 in 5 months,
That's $200 each month.
easy peasy. But what if something comes up, like an unexpected bill or something? Do we just stick to that number no matter what?
No, not necessarily. That monthly savings amount is really just a starting point.
Okay.
It's important to stay flexible. So if something changes in your life,
Like a sudden expense.
or maybe you get a raise,
Right.
you might need to revisit that number and adjust it accordingly.
Okay, so be ready to adapt. Got it. Now for step 4, this is the part I'm most excited about, automating our savings.
Oh, this is a game changer.
I know, right? It's like magic. You set up an automatic transfer from your checking to saving.
Exactly. Every month, like clockwork, a portion of your income goes straight to your savings account.
And you don't even have to think about it.
Exactly. And you know what else can make saving feel a little magical?
Tell me more.
High-yield savings accounts. They're like the superheroes of savings.
Okay, why is that?
Well, according to NerdWallet, some of them are offering interest rates of 4% or even higher these days.
Wait, 4%? I remember when you were lucky to get 0.05%.
I know, right? Times have changed.
Yeah.
So your money is actually growing while you're working towards your goal.
It's like getting paid to save.
It is. And that's on top of what you're already putting away. Okay,
Yeah.
ready for step 5?
Hit me with it.
This one might sting a little. It's about cutting unnecessary expenses.
Ooh, yeah. We all have those little budget leaks we don't even realize are there.
We do, like that streaming service you signed up for and never use.
Uh, Guilty as charged.
It's about identifying those sneaky expenses that are draining your account without you even noticing.
So subscriptions we don't use, impulse buys we don't need.
Take out food when you could be cooking at home.
All those little things can really add up, can't they?
They can, but luckily there are apps for that.
Seriously. There's an app for everything these days.
There is. Apps like Trim and Truebill, they can actually help you find those hidden subscriptions,
What?
negotiate lower bills, and even find better deals on stuff you're already paying for.
Okay, so not only can we automate our savings, but we can kind of automate our saving strategies too. That's pretty cool. But what if, like, cutting back just isn't enough?
That's where step 6 comes in. It's all about exploring additional income streams.
Okay, yeah, like a side hustle.
Exactly. Have you ever thought about starting one?
I mean, everyone's talking about them these
It's
days.
more than just a trend, you know?
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. Bankrate says that something like 45% of millennials already have a side gig, and they're making an average of $500 extra per month.
Wow. So it's a legitimate way to boost your income.
Absolutely. And it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a huge commitment. There are tons of options out there.
Like what?
Freelancing, driving for a ride-sharing service, even turning a hobby into a small business.
So many possibilities. It's great. It's all about being resourceful and finding creative ways to reach our goals.
I love that perspective. And finally, we reach step 7. This is about tracking your progress.
Like giving ourselves a little high five every time we reach a milestone.
Exactly. Whether you use a spreadsheet, a budgeting app, or just a good old-fashioned notebook.
Okay.
The key is to actually see those savings grow. It can be super motivating. And remember, life happens, right? So if unexpected expenses come up
Uh-huh.
or your income changes,
Oh, yeah. Life is full of surprises.
it is.
Yeah.
Just be prepared to adapt and adjust your plan as needed.
Okay, so flexibility is key. Got it. All right, so we've got our 7 steps. But this guide has some bonus tips too, right?
It does. It's like they knew we needed a little extra boost.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are they?
First up, use a separate savings account for your goal. This helps to keep those funds separate from your everyday spending money.
So we're not tempted to dip into it.
Right. Out of sight, out of mind.
I like that. It's like creating a dedicated space for your savings to grow undisturbed.
Exactly. And some banks even let you create sub-savings accounts within your main one.
Really? So you could have one for a vacation, one for a down payment on a house.
Even one for that espresso machine.
Oh my gosh, yes. I love being organized like that.
It's all about visual reinforcement. Another tip is to reevaluate your goal periodically. Life changes, priorities change, so make sure your savings plan still makes sense for you.
Yeah, I mean, if you're suddenly making more money, maybe you can reach your goal sooner.
Exactly. Or if something unexpected happens and you need to cut back, adjust your plan accordingly.
Always be adapting. All right, what else?
Well, this one might be tough, but try to avoid splurges, especially when you start seeing your savings balance go up.
Oh, yeah, it's easy to think, oh, I deserve a treat, but
Every dollar you spend elsewhere is a dollar further away from your goal.
so true. Stay focused.
Keep your eye on the prize. Oh, and speaking of prizes, remember those windfalls we were talking about?
Like tax refunds, bonuses.
Yeah, those are like little gifts from the universe. Don't let them slip away.
Straight to the savings account.
Exactly. It's a super easy way to give your savings plan a boost.
I love it. So what do you think so far? Is this as helpful as you thought it would be?
Oh, it's even better. I'm really impressed with how approachable and actionable everything is. And, you know, it's not about deprivation. It's about making smarter choices, leveraging technology.
And most importantly, reaching our goals without drowning in debt.
Exactly. It's empowering, isn't it?
Totally. All right, we've covered a ton of ground, from the importance of having a plan to those 7 essential steps and even some bonus tips.
And we're not done yet. We still have to wrap things up with a thought-provoking question for our listeners.
I like where this is going. All right, ready for this?
Hit me with it.
Okay, here it is. What's the one thing you're willing to adjust in your spending habits today to start building that savings muscle?
Ooh, I like that. Is it that daily latte? That subscription you haven't used in months?
Or maybe it's finally taking the plunge and starting that side hustle you've been dreaming about.
It's all about making a conscious choice.
Even a small one, because even small changes can make a big difference over time.
They really can. You know, one thing that really stood out to me in this guide was the emphasis on the psychological side of saving.
What do you mean?
Remember that stat about people with savings plans being 30% less likely to rely on credit?
Yeah.
Well, I did a little research, and it seems like having a plan actually leads to real behavioral changes.
Wow, interesting. Like what?
Well, for instance, studies have shown that people who actively save are more likely to comparison shop,
Oh, that makes sense.
use coupons, and delay gratification.
That's fascinating. So it's like the act of saving itself makes us more mindful spenders.
Exactly. It's a positive feedback loop. The more you save, the more you think about your spending, and the easier it becomes to save even more.
So it's not just about reaching a specific financial goal. It's about building healthier money habits overall.
You got it. And that's something we can all benefit from, no matter our income or financial aspirations.
Absolutely. This deep dive has been really eye-opening. I feel like I have a much better understanding of not just how to save, but why it's so important.
I'm glad to hear that. And remember, this is just the beginning. There's so much more to explore in this guide.
From budgeting strategies to negotiating tips.
It's all there. So dive back in, keep learning, and keep that saving momentum going.
Yeah. So to our awesome listeners, we've given you a solid roadmap to debt-free saving. You've got the steps, the tools, and now hopefully the motivation to make it happen.
Remember, every journey starts with a single step.
So take that step today and start saving for those dreams. And until next time.
Happy saving. All right, lay it on me.
Okay, so think about this. What's the one thing, just one thing, that you'd be willing to change about your spending habits today, like right now,
Yeah.
to start flexing those savings muscles?
Wow, that's a good one. It really makes you stop and think, is it that daily latte you always get? Or
Hey.
that streaming service you signed up for but never actually watch?
Ooh, yeah.
Or maybe it's finally time to get serious about that side hustle you've been thinking about.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about making that conscious choice.
Uh-huh.
And it doesn't have to be anything huge either.
Right.
Even those small changes, they can make a big difference over time.
Absolutely. They really add up. One thing I found really interesting in this guide is how much it talks about the psychology of saving.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, remember that stat we mentioned earlier about folks with savings plans being way less likely to use credit cards?
Yeah, 30% less likely?
Right, 30%. Well, I did a little more digging, and it turns out that planned saving, it can actually lead to some pretty big changes in how we behave with money.
That's interesting. Like how so?
Well, research shows that people who are actively saving, they're more likely to comparison shop.
Makes sense.
They're more likely to use coupons.
Oh, yeah.
And they're better at delaying gratification. Not buying something right away, but waiting until they can really afford it.
That's fascinating. So it's like the very act of saving money actually makes us smarter spenders overall.
Exactly. It creates this positive feedback loop. The more we save, the more we think about our spending habits, and the easier it becomes to save even more.
It's like building momentum.
Exactly. So it's not just about hitting a certain number in your savings account, right? It's about developing a healthier, more mindful relationship with money in general.
I love that. And that's something we could all use a little more of, no matter what our income is or what we're saving for.
Couldn't agree more. This deep dive has been really eye-opening for me. It's not just about the how-to of saving.
Yeah,
It's the why that's really powerful.
totally. I feel way more motivated now.
Me too. And remember, we've just scratched the surface of this guide.
Oh, yeah, there's tons more in there.
So much good stuff, like detailed budgeting strategies, tips on negotiating lower bills.
It's like a financial toolbox.
It is.
Yeah.
So I encourage you to, go back, explore those resources, keep that momentum going.
Yes. So to our amazing listeners, we've given you a solid roadmap to debt-free saving.
Uh-huh.
You've got the steps, the tools, and hopefully the inspiration to make it happen.
You got this. And remember, every journey starts with a single step.
So what are you waiting for? Take that step today and start saving for those dreams. And until next time.
Happy saving.
It's interesting, isn't it? We talk about saving money, but it almost feels like we're gaining something too, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's like we're giving up some small, immediate things, but in return, we're gaining this huge sense of freedom.
Yeah, the freedom to actually do the things we want to do.
Exactly. Like travel the world, buy a house, whatever it is you're saving for.
And we can do it without the stress of debt hanging over our heads.
About those credit card bills piling up.
Yeah, exactly. It's like trading short-term impulses for long-term happiness.
I like that. It's a good way to put it.
So we've been talking a lot about the how of saving,
Right.
but there's something else we need to consider, and that's inflation.
Oh, yeah. Inflation. The silent killer of savings.
I know, right? So how does that factor into our savings plan?
Well, It's important to make sure our savings are growing at a rate that at least keeps up with inflation.
Okay.
Otherwise, we're essentially losing money over time.
That makes sense. So even if the number in my savings account is going up, the actual value of that money might be going down.
Exactly. Because things are getting more expensive.
Uh-huh.
The same amount of money buys less stuff.
Wow, that's sneaky. So HYSAs, those high-yield savings accounts we talked about? Yeah.
Those are good. But should we be thinking about other investment options too? Especially for longer-term goals like retirement.
Absolutely. If you're saving for something further down the line, like retirement or a down payment on a house,
Yeah.
investing in the stock market can be a really powerful way to grow your wealth.
Okay, but isn't the stock market kind of risky?
It can be, especially in the short term. But over the long run, historically, the stock market has done a pretty good job of outperforming other asset classes.
Okay, so it's about finding that right balance.
Right. Balance between risk and reward.
And if we're not sure how to do that,
Yeah,
talking to a financial advisor is probably a good idea, right?
absolutely. They can help you figure out what makes the most sense for your individual situation and goals.
It's like having a personal trainer, but for your money.
Exactly. And remember, this is just the start of your savings journey. There's so much information out there.
Oh yeah, so many resources.
Financial blogs, podcasts, budgeting apps, online communities. You're not alone in this.
And as you watch those savings grow,
Uh-huh. That feeling of accomplishment, yeah, and financial security?
that's the best reward of all.
Absolutely. Well, folks, that wraps up our deep dive into the world of savings plans. We hope you feel inspired and empowered to take control of your finances.
And start building a brighter future.
Remember, it all begins with a single step.
So make that step today.
Start saving for those dreams, whatever they may be.
And until next time.
Happy saving!